Good morning. Long time no see. I hope you all are doing well. Um, I know it's been a minute since I've brought any really fresh material. I don't even know if that would be even the appropriate thing to say, but y'all know what I mean. I've just been going through a lot of different changes with not just my medical but personal life as well. I'm going to do something real quick here. I'm going to put on my fireplace. I find it very soothing. And we got Mr. Bubby over here in the background. I think my remote needs new batteries. It's been acting weird. So how have all of you been? How have my amazing warriors out there been? I hope everything's been going well for you all. I hope life hasn't been too hard on you guys. I when I come up and do my videos, I like to have, and even at night if I'm having a hard time relaxing, I don't know about you guys, but I listen to Chelsea. She has there's soothing videos on YouTube, Asmar, and I watch Chelsea, especially when I'm having a hard time. Oh, that's got music. We don't want music. We don't need music. We just want the fire. But I've also found that there we go. Just having a flickering fireplace in the background is relaxing as well to me. I find having a fireplace lit's really relaxing. But it is, what time is it? It is 7:40 in my neck of the woods. 7:40 a.m. February 1st. Today is my daughter's birthday. And yeah, I thought I would come up and just kind of fill you guys in a little bit and maybe talk about, I have a community over on Facebook. It's called Our Journey, Our Truth. And I created the community about 5 years ago. And it's going well over there. So I've been trying to keep busy over there too. I've just really been trying different things that that either relax me or that distract me from having a bad day, or whatever the case may be. But as we know, living with CRPS, it can be a little hard even finding things to do to relax us or to distract us. I'm sorry, I'm being distracted by these wings I have going on back there. So yeah, I've been a little MIA over there as well. So it's not personal toward you all, but it is personal with myself because, like I said, I've been going through a lot of different changes with my CRPS, with my life in general, just like all of us, right? We all have, other than our disability, life doesn't stop for us, meaning our responsibilities, what we need to be doing for our health, what we need to be doing to save our sanity, and things in that nature. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. We have a few warriors that reach out in the community, asking for advice or just sharing what they're going through at the moment. And this weather, oh Lord, have mercy. I mean, it's frigid out. It's, we've got snow. It's winter, and as a person who lives with it, we know that the weather can really play havoc, you know, with the CRPS. Our bodies are all over the place. It can cause just all kinds of stuff. The weather does not play. CRPS and the weather, they're like the ultimate enemies. They do not play well together. They do not take each other into consideration. They don't care what each other has to say, or what what the other versus the other feels. It doesn't care. And this is why I say so many times in my photos or in my videos that CRPS doesn't play by a set of rules. It does what it wants to do when it wants to do it, and however it wants to do it. It doesn't care. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't listen to what we want. That's for sure. It's the gift that keeps giving, and it's the type of gift that you may receive from a loved one, and in hopes that you have the receipt with it, because there's no receipt with this. There's no refunds. It's not refundable. It just, and we don't know. We never know, because there is no, normally when a person becomes ill or sick or whatever, there's some sort of notification ahead of time, meaning you may have a runny nose, or you might get a headache, or you might start sneezing, or a little cough here and there, and then eventually all those symptoms turn into a ball of yuck, and you end up with the flu or just a cold, or whatever. There's always some sort of warning ahead of time. There's some sort of something letting you know, okay, I may want to prepare myself because I might be getting sick, or it could just be allergies or hay fever or sinus or whatever. There's always signs of something coming. There's always a heads up. There's always some sort of clue. CRPS, there's none of that. It just, you wake up one day and boom, there it is. There's no hint that another symptom is going to start, or you might, the symptom you had may worsen or less or change. There's no signs of any of that. Nothing. You could be perfectly fine. Okay, I'm rabbit earing that because, well, and you could be your average CRPS self 1 minute, and the next minute, bam, there's something right there. It doesn't knock. It doesn't ask to come in. It doesn't telephone. It doesn't text you ahead of time to say, hey, I'm coming. It doesn't do any of that. And it's just, it's frustrating. I do want to talk about something else, however. If you are a warrior who has an amazing support system, God bless you. There are a lot of us out there that don't. And maybe you have a support system, but yet you still have a few people in your life that are just ugly, that are hurtful, disrespectful, that could care two shites what's going on with you. I wish I could say just ignore it and move on, but we all know that that's not the easiest thing to do, especially when it's coming from somebody you never thought it would come from. People can be very cruel, and it's already hurtful enough when it's from people we don't know, but when it's from loved ones or people that you know, it's heartbreaking. I remember as a kid, there were a lot of things I used to think about, and I was bullied growing up. And I was bullied because I was different, because I didn't want to blend in the cool crowd. I was bullied because I was me and I didn't pretend to be something or someone else. And I remember thinking to myself, gosh, I can't wait till I grow up and become a grown-up, because grown-ups don't bully each other. Grown-ups are respectful. Grown-ups show each other respect. They're there for each other. They want to help, and it wasn't probably until I was, gosh, I don't know, in my late 20s, when I realized that adults can actually be worse than kids. I realized that adults could be just a bigger bully than a child could. And that blows my mind, because we're supposed to be setting examples. We're supposed to be teaching our children, we're supposed to be teaching the young to be respectful, to have manners, to use their manners, to be kind to one another. And now I understand where the bullies came from. I just thought they were kids being cruel. Kids will be cruel, but children are not born cruel. We're not born to be cruel to each other. We're not born to hate each other. We're not born to be disrespectful. That's taught. Children learn it from somewhere. Now, mind you, there are good parents out there that end up having kids that are just uncontrollable and are just horrible little gremlins. But, and I can say this because I have children, okay? And those parents do everything they can to teach their child what's right and what's wrong. So there are good parents out there that end up having a troubled child. However, that's not always the case in every scenario, okay? Children are going to mimic, they're going to repeat, they're going to do things that they see grown-ups do. Because when you're a child, mom and dad and auntie and uncle, they're never wrong. Okay, when you're a child, that adult in your life, you think they know everything. They're so smart. They have the answers to everything. They wouldn't be doing that if it was bad. They wouldn't be saying that if it was bad. But the reality is that's not the case. And so you end up having children that grow up being mean adults, bullies, grown-up bullies. And so now when you are an adult who's disabled, you deal with a lot of that. And it's so sad. It's not right. It needs to stop. I've spent 5 years of my life with this disease, and I've had it for 13. But 5 years of those 13, I have been trying to advocate. I have been trying to get the word out. I have been trying to comfort my warriors and be their support system and be their advocate and share methods that my therapist has taught me in hopes that it might help them in some way. Because mind you, we're all different, okay? You will never find a CRPS case that is identical to the next. The only thing identical is that we have the CRPS. That's it. Our symptoms, the way we developed it, the way it affects our body, it's all different. And that is why it's so hard to find a cure, because it is so complex. We are one of the, if not the most complex disease out there. Other diseases that have happened in the past, we have, treatments for those. And they're able to, okay, we have a treatment, we have a cure, this is what we're going to do. It's not like that with CRPS. Because CRPS is so complex, this is why we do not have a cure. And our disease is over 100 years old. And there are doctors out there, and that's a whole other video, and we will get into that one day. But there are doctors out there that are working so hard to try to find a cure, to try to find something. The treatments that we get, I just had a treatment done this past Tuesday, and so far I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a little sore, but fingers crossed that it continues to work and gives me some relief. Is it a cure? No. Does it take away the pain completely? No. But it is a relief. It does bring some relief to that. And I get 3 different types of treatments. So I had one done on Tuesday, and so far, okay. But not one, the treatments I get may or may not help another. So it's very complex, it's very different, and it's very frustrating. We have people pulling at our skirt tails all the time. We have people that are supportive and understand and are there to check on us, are there because they love us and they're concerned. And then we have people that never bother to check, never bother to ask questions, never bother to reach out and say, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Are you okay? It's really sad and it's heartbreaking, to say the least. The ones that we want to be there usually are the ones that aren't. But I wanted to refresh our memory on, because it's been a while since I've done a video, and I wanted to refresh our memory on how aggravating it is when it comes to having the right support. And I feel too that if our warriors had the right support, they would live a much better, fulfilled life. The way we treat people and the environment that we are in plays a huge role on our health. In fact, I just had my therapy appointment on Monday, this past Monday. And I was talking to her about that. We were discussing how our environment affects our health, whether you're disabled or not, just in general. You know, we don't just focus on my disability. I'm a whole person. So we talk about me as a whole. My disability, I can't detach it. It doesn't come off. And, you know, so we're talking about how our environment affects our health, affects our mood, affects our body. And I feel like if our warriors had that healthy support system, I feel like they would be prospering so much better. I'm going to tell you, I've had both sides of the coin, so to speak, with many of the topics that I've discussed here and in our community. So I get it. I understand it. I can respect it. You know, we often say, well, you know, no, they don't know what it's like unless it happens to them. To a point, I agree with that, 1000%. Unless you have yourself engaged in something that affects you in a way, you're not going to understand it 100%. However, I do also believe that if you are a part of that person's life, a part of what's going on in that person's life, meaning if you're a witness, okay, you're going to get it, you're going to understand it. If you have any type of respect for human life, you're going to understand it. You may not fully 1000% know because you're not experiencing it personally, but if you are involved in that person's life, meaning you're involving yourself in their doctor visits, you're checking on them daily, whether they get back to you or not, as long as that daily check is going out, that's all that matters. I will tell you, as a person who lives with CRPS, we don't want to be, you have to understand, we're trying to balance life and pain at the same time. We're trying to focus on life while pain is trying to interrupt that focus. Me sitting here talking to you right now, I'm trying to focus. I'm doing a million things. You want to talk about multitasking? We multitask every second of every single day because we are in a battle. Our body is at war with itself. And so we have to multitask just to get through an hour, a day, a minute. We are constantly multitasking. And so this is why I think it is so important. And I know firsthand how important it is to put yourself or to be in an environment that's loving, that's caring, that's nurturing, that's positive, versus being in one that doesn't even care whether or not you're breathing. One that doesn't check on you, doesn't even acknowledge you exist, or says harsh and cruel things to you. One that is nothing but a bully who's constantly bullying you and just being self-centered and cruel and just mean. Oh, my neck. Sorry, I gotta stretch my neck, guys. I also too want to kind of touch a little bit on, you know, we have a lot of, again, it's winter months, it's the winter season, and winter doesn't play very nice with CRPS. So we have a lot of warriors that are, and I as well, but a lot of my warriors are dealing with the discomfort of the winter months. And so, you know, we've had a couple reach out and for advice, you know, well, what do you find that? And that is one of our biggest things with the community. It's not just a support system, it's not just a safe place, but it's also a place where my warriors can go and they can comment and ask for advice, or if they find something that works for them, they can share it with the community, because you never know, what works for you may work for somebody else. Okay, so you just never know. But we've got a lot of warriors that are just not doing great right now. um, my wonderful moderator Christy, and I feel bad because I've been going through things, and her and I, we talk every day, we text every day, but she's been going through things, I've been going through things, so we've kind of lost track on that. And I would love to get back to that. In fact, I may give her a call this afternoon, and just to check on her, see how she's doing. She's going through a lot of different things right now. And of course, the winter months does not play nice. Bubby's snoring. If you hear that, that's him snoring over there. Let me see if I can turn you without knocking you over. God, I love the Bubby. Oh, you're crooked. Okay. I forgot where I was going with that, but I just want to remind my warriors too to rest and reset when you need to. When you are doing chores around the house, make sure that you are, if you have to set a timer. Now I'm going to tell you right now, mine has changed from, this is a method that I was taught by my therapist, because I'm a person that wants to get things done. I don't take breaks. I don't, I want to get it done. And I've had to learn different ways of getting through my day, and I have shared those with my warriors in our community. And I will tell you, if you are a warrior that has tried that method that I've shared with you guys, just keep in mind that later on down the road, it's going to change, or it could change. I guess I can't say it's going to, but 9 times out of 10 it does. So we all know how it can change. But just remember that if you are doing chores around the house, to just take your time, set your timer. Remember to take those breaks in between. Remember to not push yourself. Remember to listen to your body, because your body is telling you something, and you need to learn to listen to it. And I know myself, there are days where I still don't. I can admit that. I still don't listen to it all the time. But for the most part lately, it's been telling me, no, you're going to listen. Because it doesn't let me get away with anything. And it's okay. It's okay not to get all the dishes done in one day, or in 20 minutes. If it takes you 15 minutes to wash some dishes, well, then it takes you 15 minutes to wash some dishes. It's okay. If it takes you longer to get something done than it normally would, it's okay. It's okay to do that. I gotta take my hair down for a minute. My head's starting to hurt. Just know that, your symptoms, they're going to change over time, unfortunately. I wish that I could come up and have good news. I would give anything to be able to come up here and just give my warriors good news and be like, hey guys, we got a cure. All right, our prayers have finally been answered. I would love to be able to do that. Maybe one day. I'm sorry. I've been emotional all morning. maybe one day we'll have a cure for this ugly, disgusting thing. You know, I hope that the next generation never has to go through any of this, because it truly is a monster that just swoops in and steals your life from you. And you can't stop it. You might be able to slow it down, but you can't stop it. And that's the part that's, you know, it's like being put in a car with no steering wheel, and you're in the back seat, and there's no steering wheel. And you don't have control of that vehicle. And the only thing you can do is pray. Pray that the car slows down. Pray that somebody is going to see it and stop it. Or at least try. I remember 5 years ago when I first created the community on Facebook. I know how different I am now versus back 5 years ago. You know, it's so weird when I think about things that I spoke with my warriors about and the community about. And I still strongly believe everything I had ever talked about back then. But now my conversations are different. They've changed. My CRPS has changed. I as a person have changed because of it. I still strongly believe in everything, and I still feel confident in everything that I spoke with them back then. I still stand by those words. But I believe too that as I move forward with the community, with my channel here on YouTube, I'm growing, and CRPS is growing with me. I'm growing older, and so is the CRPS. And so I have different stages that I can share, different teachings that I can share, different knowledge that I can share with a new warrior, or a warrior who's had it for a couple years, or, you know, a warrior that's just been diagnosed. I have all of that information. I have all of that knowledge that I can still share. So regardless on how older I'm getting or how more advanced my CRPS is getting, I still have that knowledge from before that I still will stand by. And I still strongly believe that you can still live your best life. You can still hold on to parts of you. You know, you can still fight that, and you can still hold on to who you are. Will you be exactly a carbon copy of who you were? No. No. You will change as a person. And I have that knowledge. I have that information because I've lived it, just like so many other warriors have. You know, we have warriors in our community who's had it for 20 years, 15 years. So we all have a level of knowledge. Now, is it going to be the same knowledge? No. Like I said before, you could put two people side by side who have it, and they're not going to be the same. Now, we may have similar symptoms, similar traits, but as far as being a carbon copy of each other, absolutely not. That's just not, it's not feasible. It's not realistic. And so I still, you know, if I have a warrior who's just been diagnosed with it and they come to me with a question, you know, how did you get, I have that knowledge. So I can share that, and hopefully methods that I did will help them through their first stages of the CRPS. And unfortunately, there is no cure. Not yet, anyway. You know, that's one of our biggest hopes, that they find a cure, and that they find it sooner than later. Of course, you know, it's like I said, it's been over 100 years. And I think I've even talked about this before. Maybe not here, but I know I have in the community. When we had a committee at one point over there, and we were doing research on it, one of my committee members came back to us with some really crazy information, because it was the first time any of us have ever heard it in the U.S. CRPS, the first recording of it was during the Civil War. But in France, they found a case that went back to the 1700s. There was a case of CRPS in France in the 1700s. So, you know, it's just crazy to think about how so many doctors still don't believe it's a real thing, how so many individuals themselves, people, you know, family, friends, acquaintances, still don't believe that it's real. But yet you have recorded information from all over the world going as far as the 1700s, and you still, what do you need it to come up to you and slap you in the face? I don't understand. This isn't some hoax. It's not some elaborate joke that we're playing on everybody, and at any moment we're all just gonna jump up and yell, "Gotcha!" That's not the case. And I feel like, you know, like I said before, there are many doctors out there who struggle and fight every day to try to figure it out. And I feel like if we had more doctors that believed, we don't have enough that believe, and that's the problem. You know, scientists and, you know, all you fancy doctors out there that get the big paychecks. Why, I don't know. Because half the stuff that you work on or you hear about, you don't believe. And I feel like if you don't believe, then your heart's not in it. And you got to be in it. I have been advocating for 5 years because I believe so strongly about it. And yes, I live with it. I've lived with it for 13 years. But just because I lived with it doesn't mean that I had to do what I'm doing. I did it because I believed in a cause. I believe that people need to be supported, that people need to be loved and understood and listened to. That's why I do what I do. Not because I have to. I don't have to do anything. And I feel like if we had more doctors that actually believed in what it is they're fighting for, and not just the paycheck at the end of the day, I feel like we would have an amazing outcome in some cases. Maybe not all, but at least in some. CRPS is not going to go away. And I feel like some think that it's just a phase. Oh, it'll go away. It's just a chicken pox, it'll go away. No, it's proven to you it's not going anywhere. How much more time, how much more evidence do you need to get it through your head that CRPS isn't going away? And because you all want to believe that if we just slap a Band-Aid on it and call it a day, it's fine. But you're forgetting about the people that live with it. It's not fine. Your Band-Aid is not working. It just saddens me how many people, and mind you, some of my warriors that joined our community years ago are doing, they're, some of them are doing a lot better than they were because they're understanding their body. They've listened, and they've taken my advice or my moderator's advice. They're listening, and we still have some out there that don't want to listen, that don't want to, acknowledge. They don't want that label of being a disabled person. But unfortunately, that is what you are. And even if you refuse to accept the label, that doesn't mean that you're not disabled. I fought with that reality myself. I did not want to, because there was moments where I would be out and about and we couldn't find a close parking space. So, and my daughter's like, Mom, why don't we go down and get you a parking pass so we can park closer to places? I'm like, no, I don't need that. I don't want that. And I think for some reason, I think that I felt as long as I didn't have that pass, that little parking thing that gave me, the ability to park in a handicapped spot, I think that for some reason I thought as long as I didn't have it, then I wasn't disabled. But the fact remained, regardless if I had it or not, I was very much still disabled. And now I have it. I many years later, 5 years later, actually, I finally caved in and I got one. And after I got it, it was like, you know what? All this time I was putting extra pain on myself that I didn't have to do. At this point in my disability, I have to live in an environment that is suitable for me. I have to cater to my disability. I need to cater to my needs that are required because of this disability. Not because I'm being difficult, but because of what I need. And my therapist has taught me, she's an amazing person. I often will say I don't know how I got through the first years without her, because there's, like I said, she doesn't just focus on the disability. I'm a human being. I'm a whole person. And so it's focused on me as a person. And I'm learning that, before I would inconvenience myself so I wasn't inconveniencing others. Meaning, I walk with a walker most of the time because I fall a lot. I have fallen a lot in the past 2 weeks. And so I should be walking with my walker full time. My doctor told me that. But because of my living arrangement, I'm unable to do so. And so that's putting myself in jeopardy, myself in danger. I could fall and really seriously hurt myself. So I'm at the moment, I'm not doing what I should be doing in the aspects of walking with my walker. I have a cane that I use, so I'm not inconveniencing others. I'm not doing that anymore. So moving forward, I am creating a life that is suitable for my disability and myself as a human being, because my needs are important. And I'm done catering to everybody else's needs and ignoring my own health. I'm done with that. And so that's what I've been working on the past few months. And I'm working toward getting a place that is designed to assist my needs. And so that's what I've been working on. I've been working on listening to my body. I've been working on doing what I need to do for my body, for my disability, instead of trying to make everybody else happy and cater to what they need. I'm done doing that. Tammy doesn't do that anymore. And so, and you are going to find that, I'm sorry if you heard that, that was my belly. And I have found that there are people around me that don't like it, but you know what? That's a you problem, not a me problem. You're not the one that's disabled. I am. Now, do I use my disability as a crutch? Absolutely not. But there comes a point in time where you really have to cater to it. You really have to do what is necessary for it so you can get through a day, a minute, an hour, a week, a month, so you can continue to live that best life. But as you continue to live that best life, the needs of that best life are going to change. And that's where I'm at right now. That is where I am at. That is where I am evolving, is catering to the needs of the because it changes. CRPS changes all the time. Our symptoms change, our needs change. So you got to keep evolving with the changes of CRPS. And that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I've been working on. And I'm going to tell you, this is probably in the last 3 years, maybe 4 years, my CRPS has changed at least two or three different times. So in those 4 years, I've had to evolve a lot. And once you get to one spot where you think, okay, I got this, we're doing good, we're evolving, we're growing, we're moving along, we're chugging along. The minute you think you got it, guess what? It says, oh no, that was just a rest stop. We're not done yet. So, I laugh. If you gotta laugh, because if you're not laughing, what are you doing? You're crying. And I get frustrated. Don't get me wrong. I have many a days where I just sit here and I cry. And I go over my head things that, I've gone through, things that I am going through, things that I need to do, things that I'm going to be doing. CRPS is a fickle thing. And it really shows you, though, just not evolving as a human being with a disability, but it really shows you true colors of other people in your life. So I guess CRPS is a blessing and a curse at the same time, because living with this, it will wing out the undesirables. And it's hurtful, it's painful, because you're not only dealing with the CRPS aspect of it, but now you're dealing with people that you thought loved you and had concern for you are not the people you thought they were. So it's definitely a very fickle thing. I just went through, gosh, I don't know, a month ago. Hypersensitivity is a thing. And what that means is your body, everything that touches your body hurts. So whether it's, blankets, your clothes, it doesn't matter what it is. Someone giving you a hug, your clothes, your bedding, your blankets, your pillow, everything in your life has to change. And I just went through my closet about a month ago and got rid of, I don't know if you, the big industrial garbage bags. I got rid of about half of my clothes. I had ordered some that, again, going shopping for shoes or clothes is, I used to think shopping was fun. It's not. It's a pain in the arse. Because we obviously can't walk around naked. And so we have to find clothes, our accessories, whether that's medical devices that we use at home, our clothes, our shoes, everything about us has to change. Even your food will have to change, just everything about us has to change. But I just got rid of like half of my clothes. I bought some that I'm hoping will work for me. But yeah, it's certain material. Terry cloth and soft cottons have been not too soft, but something that's lightweight, that's not heavy, that's not going to irritate, that's not going to hurt. It's just everything in your life ends up changing. And it's not because we're being difficult. It really isn't. It's not because, we're trying to make your life miserable. Hello. Hi, I'm CRPS. We didn't do this to ourselves. This wasn't something that we wished for. This isn't something that I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. You're in pain constantly, 24/7. The pain never stops. Never. And it's exhausting. You try being in pain that never stops and still have to function as a human being. You do that. And let me see if you can. And on top of that, some of us have deformities like myself. And some are so bad that they end up having to get amputation. CRPS is an ugly thing. And there's a lot of dark, deep uglies to it that doesn't get talked enough about. And it needs to be. The dark, ugly, scary things need to be talked about. Maybe if they are, then maybe something will start getting done. Maybe our loved ones will start understanding it more. That's all we can hope for. Maybe we'll start getting more support instead of criticism and shunned and shamed and all that. That's not helping. So for you that are doing that, please stop. Because you know what, at the end of the day, you know what that makes you? Ignorant. And if you enjoy being ignorant, well, God bless you. But I'm going to go. I just want to come up and talk a little bit. I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I'm still breathing. And as long as I've got a breath in me, I will still continue to advocate, whether that's here in video or behind the scenes. It's still getting done. And, there are going to be moments where I have to step back and take care of me. But I will be back. That's a guarantee. So, I love you all. I'm sending all of my warriors gentle hugs. I'm sending you prayers for relief. For all you supporters out there that are genuinely good supporters, God bless you and thank you. Thank you for being there for your warrior. Thank you for being there for us. Thank you for being the great supporter that you are. We appreciate you, and I know your warrior and your loved one appreciates you as well. So keep it up. In the meantime, I'm going to go. I love you all so very much, and we will talk again real soon. Until then, ciao for now. Bye.